California, Mr. Sherman.
Thank you. I'd like to first talk about the industrial loan company loophole to what has been in this country. Can I be heard?
You are live and loud.
Live and loud. Thank you. First, look at the industrial loan company loophole to what has been a prohibition in this country of mixing industry and commerce on the one hand and financial services on another. Now, a couple decades ago, we did allow different types of financial services companies to be under one roof. An insurance company can also own a bank or vice versa. But Mr. Carrero, last month it was reported that Walmart had hired a Goldman Sachs head of consumer banking and announced a partnership with Reddit Capital, trying to expand into financial services. Walmart and other major retailers have at various times sought state-issued industrial loan company charters on just as the Trump administration was on its way out the door in December of last year. FDIC adopted rules that paved the way for non-banks to own ILC chartered banks. And here's the key part: without being subject to the same regulatory oversight requirements that are applied to traditional bank holding companies. Do you see inconsistencies in these regulatory requirements? And is it a good idea for us to copy a system that has done tremendous damage to Japan, of having groups of companies that are both in industry and commerce on the one hand and financial services on the other?
Thank you for your question, Congressman Sherman. I believe that the Japanese example does provide some lessons. They call Rakuten Japan's Amazon, and it has integrated into financial services in a way that it will never be untwisted at this point. I do want to highlight one dimension regarding the ILC issue that Professor Girding and Professor Johnson did not hit on, although I believe they both point to it, at least in a general way in their testimony as well. It's that a lot of these companies that will come through this loophole will be subject to different data collection requirements. They will not be subject to Regulation Y or the regulations of the BHCA in the same way, and then won't even provide the limited privacy protections that current banks do to their customers. So in many ways, this is replicating the problems of the past, as Member McHenry said, in the sense that we are creating things that look like deposits, act like deposits, walk like deposits, talk like deposits, but we don't treat like deposits. And in the other sense, though, this is totally new.
And following
because
up
of
on
the tech and the
that,
data collection.
we have a few very small old ILCs out there, but if Amazon exploits this, they're going to be enormous. They don't do anything small. And the question would then be, would they be subject to the Financial Stability Oversight Council if they were a systemic of systemic importance to our financial system?
Yeah, there are all these giant macro questions, which I believe Professor Girding outlined quite well. And the issue to me is certainly one of power, even behind that, Congressman Sherman. The issue is that entities like Amazon and Facebook and Walmart, which has launched the fintech, as you said, has hired people from outfits that don't respect privacy to come in under the cloak of providing access to credit or financial inclusion even, but to do so in a way that fundamentally depends upon mass surveillance and a violation of our constitutional rights consistently. There are other ways to do this in which we respect privacy. There are other ways even for private sector companies to do this, let alone the government itself. And we are not addressing those ways. I'd be really interested to hear what, for instance, former Acting Comptroller Brooks has to say about the Fourth Amendment, and again, the necessary violation of privacy that is the business model of these companies for which it works.
I do want to go on to one other issue, and Professor Girding, I'm probably going to ask you to respond for the record, but we see that the state of Wyoming is moving toward cryptocurrencies. And the OCC has granted preliminary approval to the Anchorage Trust Company to become a national trust bank. And Anchorage, of course, claims to be a cryptocurrency asset custodian. I've looked at Bitcoin and wondered whether there was a big enough market among terrorists, drug dealers, and it didn't seem to be enough. And then I realized when the IRS commissioner testified for $1 trillion every year of unreported taxes, chiefly from the wealthy, that, and I made up a little advertising sign, may help Anchorage. Bitcoin, it's not just for terrorists anymore, it's for tax evaders too. That's the market for Bitcoin. I yield back.